Have you ever felt like the more you try to hold on, the more life slips through your fingers? You cling to people, to outcomes, to expectations. And somehow, instead of feeling secure, you feel anxious, restless, even broken. What if the very thing you believe gives you happiness is actually the root of your suffering? In Buddhist wisdom, this is not just a possibility. It's a truth. In today's world, attachment is everywhere. We attach to relationships, to success, to validation from others, even to our own identity. We say things like, I need this to be happy. I can't live without this person. This must go my way. But according to Buddhist philosophy, this mindset quietly creates suffering because everything you're holding on to is temporary. One of the most powerful teachings in Buddhism is this. Life includes suffering, not because life is cruel, but because we misunderstand its nature. We expect permanence in a world that is constantly changing. We expect control in a world that flows freely. And when reality doesn't match our expectations, we suffer. This is where attachment begins to destroy us, not suddenly, but slowly. Like holding onto sand, the tighter you grip, the faster it slips away. There's an old Buddhist story. A young monk once approached his teacher, deeply upset. He had accidentally broken his only bowl, the one he used every day. He said, "Master, I'm devastated. That bowl meant everything to me." The master looked at him calmly and replied, "Then you were already suffering long before it broke." The monk was confused. The master continued, "When you believe the bowl must always remain, you created fear. Fear of losing it, fear of damage, fear of change. The moment you became attached, suffering began. From a modern perspective, this makes perfect sense. Your brain is wired to seek security. It tells you, hold on tight. This is important. Don't lose it. But here's the hidden truth. Attachment is not love. Attachment is dependency. Love says, I appreciate you. Attachment says, I need you to complete me. And that difference changes everything. Because when you need something to feel whole, you give it power over your peace. In Buddhism, there's a key concept called impermanence. Everything changes. Every emotion, every relationship, every moment, nothing stays the same. At first, this may feel uncomfortable, but in reality, it's freeing. Because if everything changes, then pain is not permanent either. Your struggles, your heartbreak, your anxiety, they are not forever. But if you resist change, if you try to hold on to things as they are, you create suffering where there could have been peace. Think about social media. You post something and wait for likes. You refresh again and again. Your mood rises when people approve and falls when they don't. That's attachment, not to the post, but to validation. And the more attached you become, the more control you lose over your emotions. So how do you begin to let go? The first step is awareness. Notice what you're attached to. Is it a person, an outcome, an idea of how life should be? Don't judge it. Just see it clearly. Because you cannot let go of something until you realize you're holding it too tightly. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop clinging. It means you learn to experience life without trying to control every part of it. In the next, we'll go deeper. You'll discover practical Buddhist techniques to release attachment without losing love, ambition, or purpose. Because true peace doesn't come from holding on. It comes from knowing when to let go. First of all, you discovered a powerful truth. Attachment creates suffering not because you care too much, but because you try to control what cannot be controlled. Now the question is, how do you actually let go? Not in theory, but in real life, when emotions feel overwhelming, when relationships feel irreplaceable, when fear of loss feels real. This is where Buddhist wisdom becomes deeply practical. In Buddhism, attachment is not random. It comes from a deeper source. Craving. Craving is the constant desire for things to be a certain way. I want this to last forever. I don't want this to change. I need more of this feeling. But craving is like a fire. The more you feed it, the stronger it burns. And attachment is the smoke that slowly fills your life. There's a famous teaching story. Hunters in ancient times would trap monkeys using a simple method. They placed food inside a narrow jar. The monkey would reach and grab the food, but couldn't pull its hand out while holding it. The trap wasn't the jar. The trap was the monkey's refusal to let go. Even when danger approached, it held on, just like us. We hold on to things, even when they hurt us, because we're afraid of losing them. Think about a toxic relationship. You know it's not healthy. You feel drained, anxious, even unhappy. But you stay. Why? Because of attachment. Not to the person as they are, but to the idea of them, to the memories, to the hope that things will change. And that attachment keeps you stuck. One of the deepest insights in Buddhism is this: you don't control everything. And more importantly, you were never meant to. But attachment tricks you into believing, if I try hard enough, I can make this permanent. So you hold tighter, you overthink, you worry, you try to predict every outcome. And in doing so, you exhaust your mind. Letting go begins when you accept this. You can influence your life, but you cannot control every result. One powerful Buddhist practice is simple, but transformative. Observe without clinging. When a feeling arises, don't push it away, but don't hold on to it either. Just notice it. This is sadness. This is fear. This is desire. Watch it like a passing cloud. Because every emotion, no matter how strong, eventually fades. The problem isn't the feeling. The problem is your attempt to hold onto or resist it. Before reacting, pause. This small moment creates space. Instead of instantly chasing what you want or running from what you fear, you breathe, and in that pause you ask, am I acting from awareness or attachment? That single question can change your life, because awareness creates freedom. Attachment creates reaction. Here's a powerful shift. Appreciate without needing to own. Enjoy your relationships without trying to control them. Enjoy success without making it your identity. Enjoy moments without fearing their end. Gratitude says, this is enough. Attachment says, this must stay. And only one of those brings peace. A traveling monk once stayed in a village. The people admired his calmness and asked, how are you always so peaceful? He smiled and said, I enjoy everything, but I carry nothing. They were confused, so he explained, when I eat, I enjoy the food, but I don't crave it later. When I meet people, I value them, but I don't cling to them. I experience life fully without trying to own it. That is the art of letting go. Letting go is not about losing something. It's about changing your relationship with it. You stop saying, this is mine, and start saying, this is part of my experience. That shift removes fear, because you're no longer trying to protect something from change. You're simply allowing life to flow. But there's a deeper layer to attachment, one that goes beyond people, beyond possessions. It's the attachment to yourself, your identity, your ego, your story. And this is where the greatest freedom and the greatest challenge exists. You'll uncover how attachment to the self creates hidden suffering, and how Buddhist teachings guide you toward true inner freedom. Because sometimes the hardest thing to let go of is who you think you are. So far, you've seen how attachment to people, outcomes, and emotions create suffering. But now we go deeper, because the strongest attachment you have is not to the outside world. It's to yourself, your identity, your beliefs, your story. And according to Buddhist wisdom, this is the most powerful illusion of all. In Buddhism, there's a profound concept. The idea of a fixed permanent self is an illusion. This doesn't mean you don't exist. It means the version of you that you cling to is constantly changing. Your thoughts change. Your emotions change. Your personality evolves over time. Yet you say, this is who I am. And you hold on to that identity tightly. Think about labels. I'm not good enough. I'm an overthinker. I'm the kind of person who always fails. I need others to like me. These become part of your identity. And once you believe them, you start living them. Even when life offers something new, you reject it because it doesn't match your story. That's attachment, not to reality, but to a narrative. A student once asked his teacher, "Who am I truly?" The teacher pointed to a river and said, "What do you see?" The student replied, "A river." The teacher smiled, "But the water is always moving, always changing. Is it still the same river?" The student paused. The teacher continued, "Just like that river, you are a flow, not a fixed thing. When you attach to a single version of yourself, you stop flowing. Your ego is a part of you that wants to feel solid, important, defined. It says, 'This is me. This is mine. This is how things should be.' But the ego also creates fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of losing status or identity. Because once you define yourself, you feel the need to protect that definition. And that protection becomes suffering. In today's world, identity attachment is stronger than ever. You build an image online, a version of yourself that you want others to see. Confident, successful, perfect. But behind that image, there's pressure to maintain it, pressure to not fail, pressure to not be exposed. That's the burden of attachment to identity. You're no longer living freely. You're performing. So what happens when you stop clinging to identity? Something powerful. You become flexible. Instead of saying, "This is who I am," you begin to see, "This is what I'm experiencing right now." Instead of, "I am anxious," you say, "Anxiety is present." This small shift creates distance. And in that distance, you find freedom. Buddhist practice teaches something called the observer mind. You become aware of your thoughts without becoming them. A thought arises, "I'm not good enough." Instead of believing it, you observe it. That's a thought. And just like clouds in the sky, it passes. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. Try this. Stop trying to control how others see you. Not in a careless way, but in a freeing way. Understand this. People's opinions are temporary, just like everything else. If you attach your identity to their approval, your peace will always be unstable. But if you let go, you become grounded, not because everyone approves of you, but because you no longer depend on it. A scholar once visited a Zen master. He was full of knowledge, opinions, and pride. As the master poured tea into his cup, it overflowed. The scholar said, "Stop, it's full." The master replied, "Like this cup, you are full of yourself. How can I teach you if you are not empty?" Letting go of identity is like emptying the cup. Only then can you truly grow. When you release attachment to identity, you stop fearing change. You stop resisting growth. You stop defending an illusion. And instead, you become open to learning, open to evolving, open to life as it is. This is true freedom. But even now, there may be a question in your mind. If I let go of everything, what will I have left? This is where the final truth lies. Because letting go doesn't leave you empty. It reveals something deeper than attachment itself. In the final, you'll discover what remains when attachment fades, and how to live a life of peace, clarity, and purpose. If you let go of attachment, what remains? This question may feel unsettling, because for so long, you believe that attachment gives your life meaning, that holding on is what keeps things valuable. But Buddhist wisdom reveals something surprising. When you let go, you don't lose meaning. You discover true meaning. Letting go is not about becoming empty. It's about becoming free. Free from fear of loss. Free from constant anxiety. Free from a need to control everything. Because when you stop clinging, you stop suffering unnecessarily. You begin to live instead of holding on. When attachment fades, 3 powerful things remain. One peace, not the fragile kind that depends on everything going your way, but a deep, stable calm. A peace that stays even when life changes, because you're no longer fighting reality. You're flowing with it, to clarity, without attachment clouding your mind. You see things as they truly are. You stop chasing illusions. You stop holding on to what harms you. You make better decisions, because your mind is no longer controlled by fear or desire. 3. True love. This is perhaps the most powerful transformation. When attachment disappears, love becomes pure. You no longer love with fear of losing. You no longer love with conditions. You simply love, freely, fully, without control. And that kind of love is unbreakable. A master once asked his students, "Why do you suffer so much?" One student replied, "Because we lose the things we love." The master gently opened his hand and said, "If you hold something like this, it can stay." Then he clenched his fist tightly. But if you grip it like this, you create pain and eventually loss. The problem is not love. The problem is how tightly you hold. So what does this look like in real life? It doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you give your best, but accept any outcome. You love people, but don't try to control them. You pursue goals, but don't tie your worth to success. You experience life without trying to possess it. This is balance. This is freedom. At the heart of letting go is acceptance, not passive resignation, but a deep understanding. Life is change, and resisting that change is what creates suffering. When you accept this truth, you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start understanding this is part of life. And in that acceptance, there is peace. Take a moment and reflect. What are you holding on to right now that is quietly hurting you? A person? A past mistake? An expectation? An identity? Ask yourself honestly, is this bringing me peace? Or is it creating suffering? And if the answer is suffering, maybe it's time to loosen your grip. Not all at once, but slowly, gently, consciously. You don't have to force yourself to let go. You just need to understand deeply why holding on is hurting you. Because once you truly see that, letting go doesn't feel like loss. It feels like relief, like putting down a heavy weight you didn't realize you were carrying. If this message resonated with you, if it helped you see life a little more clearly, then take a moment to support the journey. Subscribe to Wisdom Hub Buddha for more powerful teachings on peace, mindfulness, and inner freedom. And if you found value in this video, don't forget to like and share it with someone who needs it, because sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is the wisdom to let go.